This is the Sports Business Classroom Audio Experience, episode 92 with Jay Vickers. Jay Vickers is the Chief Operating Officer for UNLV Sports Innovation Initiative, providing direction and leadership to position UNLV as the hub of the global intellectual capital of sport and entertainment, Las Vegas. Vickers is a senior leader with more than 20 years of experience in the areas of management, fundraising, sales, marketing, and customer service, with a proven record of measurable outcomes. A graduate of Notre Dame, Vickers was a member of the Fighting Irish football team from 1996 through 2000 and graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration. He is a founding member of Game Changers United, the U.S. Soccer Federation Board for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, and leads the Las Vegas Super Bowl Host Committee internship program that's partnership with UNLV. As a results-oriented leader, Vickers has had success at two Mountain West programs, Fresno State and UNLV in the Pac-12 at Arizona, in the Big Ten at Wisconsin, and in the MAC at Northern Illinois University. He has a comprehensive understanding of the role of higher education, external divisions, aligning with institutional priorities while increasing private philanthropy. Vickers has worked for Learfield, IMG, UNLV, Sports Properties, where he served as a business development manager. At Northern Illinois University, he was the senior associate athletic director and oversaw Huskies sports performance, equipment and operations, and revenue generation units. He also served as a sports administrator for the NIU football program and led the charge for the Huskies strategic planning process. At Wisconsin, he was the senior assistant athletic director for advancement for 2 years and managed the Wisconsin athletic development and ticket operation units that generated a combined annual revenue of $60 million. Under Vickers' guidance, the UW Development Office increased revenue, brand awareness, and loyalty through a new website, an annual giving campaign, and revamped endowment program. His cultivation efforts resulted in the growth of Wisconsin's annual fund to well over $12.5 million. Prior to that, Vickers held the athletic development and fundraising roles at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the University of Arizona, and Fresno State University, significantly increasing revenue for each of those athletic departments. Before working in intercollegiate athletics, Vickers required several years of experience as a marketing manager with extensive background in customer service, sales, marketing, and management at numerous major corporations, including Pfizer and Hershey's. I was personally interested in talking with Jay because not only is his resume very impressive, but he is willing to share his experience, skills, and knowledge with our sports business classroom community to help our students and alumni achieve whatever level of success in sports, business, and life they are after. Welcome to the Sports Business Classroom Audio Experience. My name is Arthur McKibben, and I am an alum of the Sports Business Classroom Immersive Program in 2022, where I took part in the Scouting, Video, and Analytics major. For the next several weeks, I will be hosting an Alumni Takeover series where I highlight some of the people that I look up to in our profession. The path to success in sports, business, and life is not an easy one. There are many challenges and obstacles that must be conquered in order for you to achieve your goal. Personal growth and leadership development are two essential components that can help you to overcome these challenges and reach your desired destination. In this series, we will focus on the importance of personal growth and professional leadership development and how it can impact someone in their pursuit of a career in sports, business, and life. I'm super excited to be reunited with the SBC team again, and I can't wait to share with you all the amazing content that we have prepared. So without any further ado, I give you Jay Vickers. Mr. Vickers, thank you so much for this opportunity to have you on the Sports Business Classroom Audio Experience. I'm truly honored and really excited to be the host for this episode with you, because I truly believe that you are going to add tremendous value to our SBC community of new sports business classroom students and alumni as you share with us your experiences working in sports and how you got there. To our listening audience, get ready, take good notes, because what you are about to hear today will definitely assist you in your pursuit of a career in sports. Jay, I'd love to start out first by asking you about your early years of being an athlete. Several questions. I'm going to give them to you all at once. How were you introduced to the sports? How did you fall in love with sports? And why did you play football? Or did you only play football? And when did you realize that you could use sports to gain an education and a career in business development?
Wow. Those are great questions. I would say, first of all, I'm very thankful to be here today, and thank you for that introduction. That was very kind of you. But going back to your questions, I can tell you, I fell in love with sports the first time I picked up a ball. And you can go back to my parents and just being able to compete and learning that and the way that it brought people together. And I didn't really understand the words then at, age 5, 7, 9.
Right.
But I just love the competition. I love the fact that, I can play with my friends and we had fun together and we can win. And, it was the first time you kind of saw yourself in a position of true excitement and people coming to you and congratulating you for scoring a touchdown or making a basketball goal or running fast in track, or whatever the case may be. And so I fell in love with it that way. And not knowing that at the time, me just having fun outside, right, and playing in the grass, whatever the case may be, would eventually turn into something that will truly mark my journey through a career in sports or just a career in life in general, right? And so I wanted to, so as I started to understand that, I continued to play sports. I played everything growing up. Then I realized that, I'm not going to get too much taller. So I wanted, and I really love I really love football. Football and track were the two sports that I fell in love with. Football, because I feel like it's the perfect metaphor for life, to be able to play football. The competition, the teamwork, the organization, the time management, the ability to be resilient when things are down, knowing that you can keep moving forward, and the fact that you have to do it together with your teammates. Not saying that other sports don't allow you to do that, but football it's 22 guys working together and trying with a common goal. And we know in business, that's something very hard to do, is get everybody working together and rowing in the same direction. Sure. And you have to do that to win a football game. And I always tell people, that's one of the hardest things you can do, is to win a football game. The good thing about that too is it kept me motivated as a first generation college student. It kept me truly motivated to understand what the goals were as relates to my parents and what my mom and dad put before me and say, listen, regardless, you're going to college. We don't know how we're going to make it happen, right? But you're going to college. And I started to learn that you can obtain scholarships. And I started to realize that when I was in 8th grade, and I made a pact with some of my friends and said, look, we're going to go to high school. We're going to work hard and we're going to make it work. And I'm going to get a scholarship and I'm going to college. Nice. I don't know where I'm going. At the time, I was looking at schools that were local in my area. I've never been on a plane before at this time. Didn't really understand what that journey would look like and what it would bring to me. I just knew that was the goal. And if I want to continue playing sports, I need to keep my grades up. So that was something that was really important. My parents made it very clear. If your grades slip, your sports slip. And so I made a point to ensure that I kept those grades up. I graduated from high school with a 4.3 GPA, all AP courses and things of that nature. So was very motivated from that standpoint. And sports helped me stay motivated. It helped me stay in control of where I wanted to go. From that standpoint, whether it was academically or socially, it really helped out from that aspect of it. And so when I had the opportunity to make a decision about where I'm going to school, I really broke it down to schools that had a great tradition in athletics and football specifically, as well as academic tradition. And so for me, Notre Dame was the perfect fit for that. After meeting Coach Lou Holtz, who recruited me during that time period. And, we know it's recruiting jargon. I get it. But the thing that he would say is the next 4 years of your life, doesn't matter what school you go to, it's going to be impactful. It's going to change your life drastically. You're going to meet new friends. You're going to meet interesting people. You're going to do things that you never thought you could do at age 18.
Right.
So, Jay, what I want to talk to you today about is what Notre Dame could do for you for the next 40 years. And at that time, going back to your question, I never thought past just getting that scholarship and getting to college, right?
Yeah.
I never thought about the next 40 years. And it just really opened my mind and made it very clear that this was the right decision.
Yeah. And it planted a seed for you as well, the power of relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. You graduated from the University of Notre Dame with a BA of marketing.
Yes.
Did you always know that you wanted to be involved in sports marketing and business development?
I did not. And as a first generation college student, one of the things that I think we struggle with sometimes is we don't know what opportunities are there.
Right.
And we don't understand, or we see things, right? We see, as I used to say, the men and women in the suits, on the sidelines.
Yeah.
They know why they was there. They understand what they were doing. And so at my alma mater, we didn't talk about, being a college coach or working in development. It was working for the Big Five at the time, those Big Five accounting firms or any top 100 companies. That's what you wanted. That's what you thought about. You didn't think about anything else because those other pathways were not as clear to you. And you didn't really understand what those pathways were. And that's no fault to anyone. It's just that's part of when you're trying to do something different within your family, right? And so I started asking a lot of questions, and I actually worked for 3 Fortune 500 companies out of college. And I worked for Gallo Wines, Hershey, and Pfizer respectively. And they taught me just great skill sets and negotiation skills, the training they gave you in sales, but more importantly, relationship management. Is where I understood that I can have a career in relationship management as working with those companies, because those 3 companies, they were number 1 and number 2 in their respective categories. And so when you went in to sell to a store or a distributor or wherever the case may be, it was not based on, hey, do you have a great product? You obviously have a great product. It was based on what type of relationship you had. And what's interesting is that my parents always say, look, all you have is your integrity. And if you keep your integrity and your core values aligned, relationships are easy. You can meet people and, you can sell them the shirt off your back. And so what I wanted to do was just make sure I kept my core values on. And I went in and built great relationships. And those 3 companies gave me the skill sets to really understand how to read people, how to get to the close, how to continue those relationships from a stewardship standpoint. And once I understood what those men and women in the suits were doing on the sidelines, and realized that those were the reasons why someone like me could get a scholarship to a school at the University of Notre Dame, that's when I became really interested in development and relationship management and working in higher ed, because now I want to take those skills and be a voice for other young men and women that were just like me and give them the opportunities to reach their dreams.
Yeah, that's awesome. We grow up thinking, or we're taught, it's who you know that makes a difference. But what we find out, it's really who knows you that really makes the difference. And in that strategy of building relationships, that relationships management, not being manipulative in our development of our relationships, but being strategic. So that, they do remember and they know the name Jay Vickers, that when and what you represent, what you stand for. And it sounds like that really kicked in for you early on.
It did. And that just came from the parents that I've been around, great high school coaches that I've had, and just mentors in general, just, showing you different ropes, willing to put their arms around you and say, hey, you should try it this way. This is a better way to do it, which is why even in my career today, and I'm still on a pathway and a journey like everyone else, I'm always honored not only to be someone's mentee, but to be someone's mentor. And so when young people say, hey, Jay, can you be a mentor? Absolutely. What do you need help with? Right. Because I know without me being a mentee to someone and someone reaching their hand back over to me, I want to be where I'm at today. So anything I can do to help others, I'm always been open to it. whether it's helping with resumes or interviews or just making a phone call and saying, hey, this is someone that may need a little polishing,
right?
But man, they're motivated to get to where they want to go. They just need a little bit more help. And always happy to do that.
Yeah, that's good to know. We're going to keep that in mind as we go forward. Jay, with our SBC students in mind, our sports business classroom, which is a week-long immersive experience there held at UNLV during the summer league. If you could go back to the beginning and reroute your path to success, is there anything that you would have changed or done differently, or maybe even a skill set that you would have focused on more?
Oh man, there's so many things that I would probably do differently because, again, going back to just not knowing, and just knocking on doors and trying to meet people, these opportunities like the sports business classroom, we didn't have during my time period. We didn't have things like one of the programs that I've been so proud to start with the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee, the internship program. We didn't have those type programs during the initial start of my journey. And so I would go back and say, look, can we start these things? Are these things happening? I would ask more questions. I would have a better understanding of, look, I'm interested in sports. What jobs are there in sports in general? Right now, even today with the emergence of sports in Las Vegas, the NBA Summer League's been here for a long time, but now with all the different sports and everything that's happening, there's new careers for our students. And so I've been challenging our students the way that I wish I would have been challenged. Hey, think outside the box when you think of sports. Let's not just think about being a coach, an athlete, or a trainer. Understand there's marketing needs, there's leadership needs, there's sales needs. There's so many different opportunities that you can be involved in. And if I would have known that during my career in college, I would have took that step and understanding more of how I can have an impact within sports. And maybe my trajectory would have been a little bit different. Maybe not. Maybe I still end up in the same place where I'm at. But I would have definitely had a more focused intent throughout my journey.
Yeah. Well, the sports business classroom audio experience, it emphasizes business, life, and sports. And so there's that harmony of those three components of our lives that's really important for us to pay attention to. Absolutely. As you try to navigate through that. Jay, we understand that you're the Chief Operating Officer of Sports Innovation Initiative at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. You are the Director of Business Development, Sports Research for the Innovative Initiative. Exactly what does that entail for you now as the COO, and how different is it from when you were the Director of Business Development?
Well, right now it's pretty much the same. We've made some changes as far as we updated our name, of course, did a little bit of rebranding. The Sports Research and Innovation Initiative was a mouthful, right? Yeah. And so we decided to say research and innovation are pretty much the same. Let's just lump it together. Okay. But the reason why we did it that way initially is when you think of sports-related research and innovation, we wanted people to think outside the box. Again, going back to how do we get when you approach someone to talk about sports and innovation, the first thing they talk about is sports science, right? How do you make the next Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, whatever the case may be? And I may be showing my age with some of those names, but or Patrick Mahomes or things of that nature. But so they think of those things. What they don't think about is mental health, right? Sports psychology, esports. They're not thinking about sports technology or diversity in sports leadership, gender specific sports training. They're not thinking about those things. They're not even thinking about our military, which I believe are some of the best athletes in the world are our military. And so those are the type of things we wanted people to think about. And so when it came to a different title change, it's going back to that. That's just the president saying, hey, Jay, we believe in what you do and what you've done thus far. And this startup, if you will, on our campus, let's continue to see you lead through it. And so I've had the opportunity to do it from that standpoint with some outstanding colleagues and Dr. Nancy Lowe, Dr. John Mercer, as well as Zach Miles, Bo Bernhardt, who is our VP of Economic Development. We all work together to build out this new initiative that's hopefully is going to become an institute here very soon. And the purpose of this initiative was, look, we see this emerging space this
Right.
new, exciting space that everyone was like, wow, we understand hospitality and gaming, but what is this sports team? We understand touchdowns. We understand hockey goals and pucks and whatever else is going to happen here. Or we understand basketball, even though WNBA has been awesome, right? And the Aces
Right.
and what's going on in Las Vegas. But what is it? What does it mean to a university that is a public institution whose job is to connect with the community, but also connect with our students and prepare them for life? We always say life beyond the game, but life
Right.
beyond beyond school. What does it mean to them? What jobs are out there? What are opportunities as relates to technology, grants, and et cetera? And so we wanted to have a space through UNLV Sports Innovation where we can not only connect with our constituents externally, but also internally, and be able to educate as it relates to workforce development, economic development, and also just give our faculty, our students, a platform to showcase what they do within these different areas. And so some of the things I shared with you is those different areas of sports-related research and innovation. These are things that we do really well on our campus right now. Right. And most people are unaware of those things. I always bring up Haley's arm, which is the young lady who threw the first pitch at the World Series and had a robotic arm. And what most people don't know is they remember the young lady with the robotic arm, but they don't know that technology was built, inspired, and made on Maryland Parkway, which is UNLV's campus.
Wow.
And so how do we continue to build a platform that will showcase the great work that our faculty and students are already doing, now that there's a huge interest in it? What we don't want to see happen is that the next innovation, the next positive impact and research or technology that we can have on sports is sitting on somebody's shelf because they never had the opportunity to showcase it. So hopefully through us, not only they can showcase that, but we could also make the connection to our external entities within our city, whether that relates to jobs, funding, just opportunities in general, but then also take that to the world. Yeah,
absolutely. One question I have for you is if Sports Research and Innovative Initiative was a Home Depot, what would I find on the aisles? I think you mentioned some of them there, but in terms of being able to really, in that perspective, because there's so much that's there, how would that pan out?
Well, that's the thing is we're trying to simplify it, right? So I give you the top 3 things you'll find here in the near future. We were just awarded a $3.25 million grant. Special thanks to Congresswoman Susie Lee to support our efforts and what we're doing in UNLV Sports Innovation. And so the first 3 things you're going to find is a new program called Sports Leap, which stands for Leadership Executive Advancement Program. That would have an emphasis in leaders in sports, but also an emphasis in diversity in sports leadership. Okay. So that's going to be a really unique program that we hope to bring on board in 2024. Next would be sports data analytics and innovation. So we're going to build out a new program that will involve around sports data analytics. We're going to take a real close look at gender-specific sports science. We realize that as it relates to gender-specific sports science, we know how to build the next Michael Jordan, right? But we don't know how to build the next Brittany Griner. The next Flojo. We don't know those things because we haven't done the work. So those are some of the things, just kind of give you an example of the things we want to start looking at from that standpoint. And last is sports performance and entrepreneurship. And obviously we do great work in sports science, but how do you go from identifying a new technology or new research that can have a positive impact on sport? And how do you turn that to commercialization? That's the entrepreneurship side of it. So blending those 2 things together, but also being advanced in sports science is where we're looking at. Then if you continue to walk through the store, after you see those 3 cornerstones, right, as you continue to walk through the store, you'll be happy to see the great work we do in sports psychology. You'll be happy to see one of 18 PGA golf management programs in the country that we have on our campus that's also rated as #1 PGA golf management program. as we have 100% graduation rate and job placement rate for all those that graduate from that program. That's just led by Dr. Chris Kane. And as you continue to walk through, you'll get someone to wave at you from mental health, and someone to wave at you in sports betting. As you look at, when you think about the International Gaming Institute, which has been the gold standard for gaming globally across the country, across the world, because at one point, only one city was experts in gaming, and that was us, right? So, and again, you keep walking and you'll see experts in military health and first responder performance. So again, you'll just keep walking down that aisle and through the store, you'll see more. But as we go into 2024 and the rest of this year, we're going to build out those top three that we talked about. But still make sure that people understand we are experts in a lot of different spots, a lot of different areas on our campus. And that's thanks to the fact that we have over, based on surveys, over 60 full-time faculty members. Not part-time, not students, but full-time faculty members involved in sports-related research and innovation. And that number continues to grow.
Wow, that's awesome. That you guys have a tremendous platform to really make a difference.
That's the goal, is to make a difference, right? Is how do we have that positive impact on sport? How do we get people to see beyond the game, if you will, in regards to the impact it can have on people's careers, as well as their research, their innovation? Then how can we help them, or if you will, guide them down a pathway that they didn't think could exist for?
Yeah, that's amazing. Jay, you became the Director of Business Development for Sports Research as the initiative. As the Director of Business Development, you were responsible for all of the business startup operations for new sports research. In December of 2019, I can only imagine your excitement and anticipation as you prepare yourself for this new role and the impact that sports research and innovation will have. Unbeknownst to you and the rest of the world, March 2020 was about to show up and change everything.
Yes.
What advice would you give to our SBC students and our alumni about how you navigated through those first 6 months and maybe even the following 6 to 18 months being the Director of Business Development with the responsibilities that you had?
Well, as I mentioned before, we were a startup. No one knew who we were. No one understood what we were trying to accomplish. We didn't have the opportunity to do these at the time because this was all new, right? Is having virtual conversations. It was like, how do we do business? And I'm old school when it comes to building new relationships. It's I want to go shake hands, right? I want to look you out of the eye. I want to have that type of conversation. And because of that, I realized that we all have to be open to change, right? And how we can do business. But the rules still applied during those first 6 months, which was we need to build a platform to one that can educate people who we were. Right. And then also start putting together the building blocks. So when we started to educate people who we were, they can see it. They can touch it in some form or fashion. So we built a website. We still continue to have weekly meetings talking about, hey, we're going to open up again. And when that happens, we need to be ready. So let's make sure we understand what our mission is, what our vision is, what are our pillars of excellence at the time, what the programs we need to going back to your analogy, the Home Depot analogy, what are they going to see in the store when they walk through? What are we showcasing? Then what is our vision as we move forward? What's going to be those three cornerstones that people are going to say, hey, that's the area that I want to go to and interlock in. But before they get there, they're going to see these other programs as well, too. So those was what we were working on, is trying to make sure that we can have a unique story to tell. And so the first step we did is once we were able to build that story, we said, well, who are going to tell the story to? We need to identify the audience, right? And how do you make an audience when you're going through COVID? We knew that the good thing is that we're on a campus. We have an audience already there and our faculty. So we do a sports research summit. And so we initiated the first one in those last 6 to 12, 18 months. We initiated our first sports research summit. It was all virtual. And we had over 90 full-time faculty members attend. And we had breakout rooms based on the different programs or pillars. And so, because one of the things we want people to do is work together on campus, first and foremost. Realize the great resources that we already have on campus. Because what you may realize is if there's an engineer working on the next great sports technology, but is missing a piece of the formula, it may already be on our campus, but they may not have identified someone else that's involved in sports-related research and innovation across campus.
Right.
That may be able to add whatever that missing link or piece is. So by us connecting together under one umbrella of UNLV, we're giving them the opportunity to see that. So we wanted to have it internally. One, they could see how we are a resource to them, how we can connect them to others. So that was the first step. And, after we had that event, we continued to take notes and build out how we could do things differently and just kind of, just keep polishing up who we are and trying to form exactly who we are, who we want to be, and where we want to go. Right. And the best ways to get there. We identified different grants. We had already received funding from the government in the past. And so we started a Catalyst grant program. And through that program, we were able to distribute nearly $1 million in grants to faculty members to help them with their research and innovation. So we stayed active. We didn't sit back and wait to see what was going to happen with COVID. And as you know, being a former athlete, if you sit back waiting on your heels, you're going to get ran over, right? That's just what happens, or someone's going to blow past you. And next thing you know, you've been posterized. And so we didn't want to be posterized by anybody. And so if anything, we want to do the posterizing, if that makes sense. Right. So we want to be aggressive in that approach and try to be as strategic as possible. And it bode well for us. It got people thinking about, man, what are they doing? If they did this through COVID, what can they do once COVID goes away? And what we did is we went through COVID and it opened back up. We did another sports resource summit, and that summit was at the UFC Apex because I started building relationships with Loris Epstein and others, virtually at the time, and just started. But now I had a story to tell. So I was able to make those phone calls and to have a virtual meeting because now we had a story that people were interested in. And so we took that story and they welcomed us in Apex to have our second sports research summit. And we had over 160 folks show up, and it was outstanding. Yeah. We just had our third one last month, and we had over 200 people. So we continue to grow from that standpoint. And that's what it's all about. It's all about growth and how we connect. How do we prepare these opportunities for our students? So we built relationships as, again, people now start to recognize us on campus and the impact we can make. So when the Super Bowl host committee showed up and said, hey, listen, we want to work with you. Right. They called us into the room. Like, hey, this is sports. We need to call you guys to the room. So what's happening? And that's how Sam Joffrey and I created the first fully paid internship in Super Bowl history.
Nice. My mentor, John Maxwell, teaches in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws, everything rises and falls on leadership, number one. And number two, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so how did you have that leadership skill set to run that direction that you did and bring influence that, would give our students, and you talked about having a leadership program as a part of what you guys are offering. How would you position that awareness for leadership for not only our students, but for your guys coming forward?
Well, I can say this is that's the importance of having great mentors, right? You mentioned yours is John Maxwell, right? And I've had really good mentors. And one of the things that we've always talked about, and people have said it in different ways, but there's no such thing as standing still, even moving forward or backwards. And I don't like moving backwards. I always want to continue to see how can we continue to move forward. Doesn't matter how big the hill is or where we have to climb. How do we keep progressing and understanding that what our goals and parameters are? And our goal is how do we elevate our institution of higher learning and make sure we maintain that we're a top 130 public research institution. What are we adding to that formula that people will recognize? And so that was a goal, is making sure we position ourselves that, hey, we're adding value to our institution. And so that kept us motivated as a team to make sure we kept moving forward. Then at the end of the day, we're here for the students. And so knowing what's coming around the corner, or not knowing, what we're seeing, the Raiders, the Knights and the Aces and whoever else is showing up, and I know I'm going to miss teams, but all these teams are coming.
Sure.
These are opportunities. And so how can we position ourselves in a place where we can take those opportunities to not only build what we do through sports innovation, but also pass those opportunities to our students, which is the main reason why higher ed even exists, is because of students. And so I've always been motivated that way to keep moving forward. And luckily, I've had great mentors that promote and motivate me to make sure I do move forward. And so that's why. So I didn't know any other way to do it. Right? It's I take it down at a time, and I've always been taught, you get first downs and you keep moving the chains, and eventually you'll either see a cutback or you see the opportunity to score a touchdown. And I don't know, just using a football analogy, that's really how I think about it.
Yeah. Speak to our SBC community about creating opportunities and becoming aware of opportunities that you may not see that's before you.
For me, it's the best one is the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee collaboration. I was asked to go to a meeting to be introduced to Sam Joffrey, who is the CEO for the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee. As you know, Las Vegas is hosting the Super Bowl 58. It's the first Super Bowl they had the opportunity to host. I'm at Allegiant Stadium. And when I first met him, the conversation was, hey, we're looking to bring in students to help us with Super Bowl host committee and plan one of the world's greatest events. So me being a football guy, I'm super excited already. I'm like, wow, I can't believe our students are going to have the opportunity to work with the Super Bowl and build this out. And we asked them one simple question: what is the budget for this program? And the budget was $100,000. And I said, well, how many students do you want? And he said 45. And we go, I don't know if that's going to cut it as far as to get students. And we spoke afterwards, and I said, listen, Sam, it's not that we're not excited about the program or the opportunity for our students, but as you learn in business, every situation is different. You have to understand the market. You have to understand your client. You have to understand the people that you're going to be, what you're dealing with. Also, what are their pain points? And I'm not saying this, what I'm about to say is a pain point, but it is something you need to be aware of when you're working with UNLV. 2/3 of our student population is first generation students and non-traditional students. And he goes, really? I didn't know that. And he goes, Jay, when you say non-traditional, what do you mean? And I said, well, we have students that have worked the strip, meaning they were bar managers or hosts or things of that nature, and they reached the ceiling and realized to break through that ceiling, they needed to go back to school and get their degree. And so they came back. But with that, unlike an 18-year-old, most of these students may have started a family because they made great money on the strip. They got more responsibilities. They have bills to pay. And so things are a little bit different. I said, also, with that said, we also the most diverse campus in the country for 8 years running. And with the fastest growing campus in the country with over 31,000 students. And his mind was blown. He said, so what do you suggest? And I go, well, this is me recognizing an opportunity. What he didn't know at the time, and he's going to see this, I did a little research on the NFL Foundation, and I understand they have active movement on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. They want to support diversity, and they have a legacy program. Meaning when the NFL goes into your city, they want to either improve something that already existed or start something new. And they call that an NFL legacy program. And I said, what if we do a matching program and build an internship program based on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to promote that? Would the NFL Foundation match your 100,000? He goes, they've never done it before. They might. We'll put it together. Him and I went into office, and if you will, we put together a wonderful presentation, and he presented to the NFL Foundation. We had all the numbers. We knew how much we needed. And it said, absolutely. We've never done it, but this sounds great. Let's do it. I took it to United Way of Southern Nevada, and in less than 10 minutes, their CEO, Julian High, said, absolutely, we're in. If it supported our
Yeah.
students and diversity, we're absolutely in. And so we raised $300,000, and to date, we've hired 25 students. We're hiring 15 to 20 more for the fall. So what we've tried to do is every semester we change out the cohorts to make sure as many students can get access to this opportunity as possible and have this experience for their resume. But we pay the students $25 an hour. And if it's an approved internship for class credit, they will pay for 3 tuition credit hours. So it's an outstanding opportunity, but an even better experience for the students.
Man, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It goes back to recognizing an opportunity. How can you align two entities together on a common ground to do something good for the community, but also for our students? And to me, that's a great example of that.
Yeah. Oh, Jay, you held a position with Learfield as a manager for the business development for UNLV for sports properties. First of all, what is UNLV Sports Properties? Mm-hmm. And how did that opportunity come about for you? And please feel free to share about Learfield also as a company who is a major catalyst for collegiate sports and marketing.
Absolutely. So UNLV Sports Properties is the multimedia arm for UNLV Athletics. So they hold their rights as relates to marketing, any kind of sporting events, advertisement, things of that nature. And they're their sales force for when they go out into the community. For me, being involved with Learfield was a great opportunity, a great experience. My background is intercollegiate athletics. I worked for some really great schools as in revenue generation. And previously to Learfield, I worked at NIU in Wisconsin and actually oversaw Learfield at those schools as their day-to-day. And it was great. And I made great relationships with their then leadership during that time frame. I had some life event changes. I was commuting back and forth from Illinois to Las Vegas. And I was commuting because my wife was here, and we were blessed with a beautiful baby girl 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. And so made some phone calls and said, look, I need to get back home. This isn't going to work. My wife is from the beautiful island of Kauai. And then I think she wanted to go to Illinois at the time. And so I said, look, I'll make a change. Now, granted, I was on a trajectory to be a director of athletics. That was my trajectory. And and I was very close to that. But I said, I wanted, a lot of times people say God, family first. You talk about that balance, right? It's what you mentioned before. And I wanted to have that balance. And very few times you have the opportunity to even have that decision. And so I made a decision that I chose, prayed about it, and I made a decision to choose family first. And I told at the time the CEO of Learfield and others that, and they said, all right, you won't believe this. There's an opportunity happened in Vegas. We just signed a contract and you've always been good with us. Let's take care of you. And so I owe Learfield a lot of respect and gratitude as they were instrumental in getting me back here to Las Vegas. Now, granted, it's a very different world and going out and selling sponsorships and things of that nature versus me overseeing it as being part of senior staff at those institutions. But I learned a lot about the business and have a lot of respect for it. And I wanted to make sure my way of saying thank you is, a lot of times when people do things for you, you talk about who knows you and those relationships, you owe it back to them. And I promised them and said, look, I'm going to do the best I can, whether I like it or not, I will. And I made goal, which if you know that business, sometimes it's not very easy to make goal and sponsorship sales. But even more importantly, our team was led by Dan Dolby, was outstanding. And we were property of the year for a group of 5. And so, which is unheard of to do for a new property. But because of that, I've still had relationships on campus based on my previous time at UNLV in the past, overseeing the Rubber Athletic Fund. And others said, Jay, again, the emergence of sports, here's an opportunity. What do you think? And they approached me about the opportunity with Sports Innovation at the time. We didn't even have a name. They just wanted to start something new, sports research or whatever they wanted to do. And I go, well, what's the vision? What's the mission? And where's the website? And the only response I got was, well, that's why we're looking to hire you, because we don't have any of that right now. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how that all transitioned back. So again, based on where I'm at now, I owe a lot of gratitude to Learfield. It's a wonderful company. I had a great experience, met some great people, and I still am friends with those people, with those folks. And it's a great career choice for someone. I really believe that.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much. Jay, you were one of about 100 Notre Dame alumni who tried out for a team to play in Tokyo in the Notre Dame Japan Bowl
You did a little research
against the Japan national team in front of 21,000 people at the Tokyo Dome. You earned the Notre Dame MVP award for running for 139 yards, 77 of those on one play that set up the touchdown on the 2-yard line. What was that whole experience like for you? And was that anything that you had ever thought you would be in your future after you left Notre Dame?
I never thought it. Well, one, thanks for doing the research on that. So I never thought that I would have that opportunity. So unfortunately, just like, a lot of athletes, especially when you play any sport, actually, injuries are a part of it. And so my career at Notre Dame as an athlete was cut short due to some unforeseen injuries, right? All injuries are not, you can have a crystal ball. What you don't want to see is injury come up, right? So, but that's part of the game, and that's what happened. And so I felt like it was cut short or kind of taken away from me. But I maintained to stay in shape. Some of my best friends had the opportunity to play in the NFL, so I would work out with them in the off season and do different things. And so I've always had a passion for, working out, staying in shape, doing those type things. And while you do it, you get motivated even more. You're thinking of things of what it could have been. Right. And so when this opportunity came up, I had a shoulder injury, and I'm talking to the all-time leading rusher in Notre Dame history, who happened to be like a big brother to me, Arthur Denson. He's like, Jay, you should try out. You always stay in shape. You should do it. And look, this person's playing, that person's playing. You probably only have about 10 plays total, but it'd be a free trip to Japan, and it'd be awesome. And I said, you know what? That makes sense. I could use a free trip to Japan. At the time, I'm at Fresno State, and as I started working out with the Fresno State football team, and I'm doing their mat drills, I'm doing all their stuff, and and I'm earning the respect of the teammates there on that football team, which they had a really good football team that year. So had a first round running back that came out of that squad. And so some really good players there. But I'm keeping up with them. And so I'm like, hey, this is good. Let's see if we can keep doing this. And I'm like, look, it's just 10 plays. Right. And a play.
And not that you were an old person, but to them, you were older than most of the students.
I was 31 years old. So I was definitely older than the 18 to 21-year-olds on that team. And so it was one of those situations where I was like, man, this could be the opportunity for me to at least, just check the box. Just say, hey, I get to play with my former teammates. I get to wear the gold helmet one more time in a really big setting and do something that could be pretty special. I wasn't planning on being MVP. I wasn't planning on any of those things happening. I just wanted to do a good job for Lou Holtz and the teammates.
Right.
And so I worked out for it. We tried out. Lo and behold, the players that were supposed to come and play running back, either something came up in their lives and couldn't make it, or we had some injuries even doing the tryouts and things of that nature. And even the day before we flew out, we had a major injury in the running back room. And so those 10 plays that we thought I was going to have became 18 carries or 19 carries, however many carries that was. And boy, I got to tell you, I was tired afterwards. But it was a blessing to be able to go out, because no one gets that opportunity to go out one more time. And, you heard me say earlier, I have at least one more play in me, because I gave up all my series in that game. And it really, it felt great. It was something that I needed mentally. We talk about mental health. It was something I needed mentally. I think there was probably some imposter syndrome going on. Like, man, did I really deserve to be there, and things of that nature?
Right.
And I can tell you, Tim Brown was our wide receiver coach, Heisman Trophy winner, Hall of Famer. Go
Big
Jacket,
influence.
right?
Yeah.
So Tim Brown came to me and said, man, Jay, I'm sitting here saying, why do I not know your story? And he went and talked to Coach Hopes and others and learned my story, the injury and how I was recruited. Right. I was the only running back Lou Holtz. I was the last running back Lou Holtz recruited, and the only one he recruited that year. And we had a top 5 recruiting class. And he goes, I heard your story. Man, I'm sorry about that. The injuries or whatever the case may be. And he goes, but I got to tell you, man, there's no question in my mind that you should not be on the field with me on Sundays. He goes, even today, with just a little more training, you can be there. And I just looked at him and I go, are you serious? He goes, no question in my mind. And at that point, I metaphorically just hung up the cleats and said, right, you know what? That's one of the greatest compliments. But then being able to play on the teammates, hold that trophy up, win a game, be able to play a major role in it was huge for me. And so I will always have gratitude to Notre Dame for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah. And that's a great moment. It's not a moment of self-pride. It's a moment of gratitude of your preparedness, your preparation, and being ready to answer the bell when it came and the opportunity. And that's great.
Well, it goes back to Lou Holtz. He used to always say is, luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right? Because people say, oh man, you were lucky, or no, if you're prepared for the opportunity, you always stay prepared. When the opportunities present itself, you're ready for it. And you can at least give your best effort in doing so. So, when you talk about the sports business classroom, it's about preparing these students for the opportunities that may exist, that's going to come up and result of being part of this classroom, and teaching them, just stay prepared, keep your resume ready, right? Yeah. Be extremely curious around people that are in roles that you may inspire to be in. Whether you think you're going to get there or not, or if you think you're going to work that way, just ask questions and don't be afraid to be a mentee. It's okay to be a mentee. It's actually an honor to be a mentee as much as it's an honor to be someone's mentor. And I think and in doing so, I think those are the ways that our students can stay prepared. It's just being, again, extremely curious, asking questions, being willingness to go to events, shake hands, and keep their information updated and ready to go. And then don't be afraid to pick up the phone and make phone calls. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you'd mentioned you were recruited by Coach Holtz. Yes.
You got injured, and then he left Notre Dame. Did playing in this game give you some kind of closure to that gap?
Absolutely.
Or that void?
Absolutely. It's nothing against any other coaches that came in after Lou Holtz, but there's different leadership styles, right? And everyone has some styles you work really well with, and other styles you may not could be less desirable. And so I really love Lou Holtz style during that time. Not saying there was anything wrong with the coaches that came after and their style, but I really resonated with his style, which is why I can, even after being just with 1 year with him, I can quote a lot of the things he says or did. And I know the impact that he made, not only for me, but my family and others. So, and that family extends to not just my personal family, but my teammates who I see as family. So he's made a difference in a lot of people's lives based on his leadership style. And so I aspire to have that type of leadership style where it's very open, encouraging, but also honest, so my core values may sound corny, but my own core values is based around the term heart, because I lead a lot with my heart, but I break it down to H is for hardworking, E is for excellence with integrity. A lot of people can have excellence, but to do it with integrity takes it's not hard. It's just, there's no right way to do the wrong thing, right? So that's integrity. A is for accountability, and that's accountability not only for your, things that you may not have done perfect, but also be accountable for the things you do great. It's okay to pat yourself on the back. R is for respect for people and for yourself. And T, last but not least, is teamwork. We can't do any of these things without, having great teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have that as part of my questions, but you jumped the gun on me.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That was That was great. No worries. Jay, what advice would you give to our SBC community who are looking to gain exposure to elite athletes, sports teams, and front office opportunities?
The first thing is do it without fear. Don't flinch, right? Because sometimes you see people in roles that you aspire to be in, and you become intimidated a lot of times. Right. You think you're not supposed to be in the room. If you prepare yourself, you're supposed to be in that room. Right. It's kind of like when coaches always say when you score, act like you've been there before, right? So don't be afraid to go in, ask questions, shake hands, but prepare yourself. Make sure your resume is tight. Make sure you are prepared to have, because you don't know where the conversation is going to go. Someone's going to say, send me your resume tomorrow. Well, now you're going to be up all night trying to get your resume ready. So make sure that you have those things ready. If you don't know how to do it, then ask someone. Go to your career center, ask your mentor, talk to different people to make sure you have a great understanding of what type of questions you should ask when you get those 3 to 5 minutes of someone's attention. And it could just be as simple as you walk it up and saying, "Hi, Arthur, I'm Jay Vickers. It's a pleasure to meet you. I would love to learn more about your career if you have the time to do so." Then have your phone out ready to go or have a card if you have that and give it to them. And these days you can do a digital card and make it extremely easy for them where you don't have to write anything down or do anything. So most people have smartphones. Those are things that you can do. So I just say, just be pleasantly aggressive in your approach.
Yeah. Nice. That's definitely some good advice. What might you say could be some of the biggest challenges either you faced or a person can face trying to have a career in sports, working for a sports organization?
I think if you don't do those initial steps of, being pleasantly aggressive, it is a space that is highly competitive. And so you have to be willing to really think outside the box of what you want to do. I would definitely say you can have your favorite team that you want to work for, but that's also somebody else's favorite team. So be open to go anywhere if you really want to be in the career. Work for any team. Just love the sport, not necessarily the team per se. And sometimes that was one thing that I had to learn. It's like, I want to work for Notre Dame, but everyone that's there wants to work at Notre Dame, so no one's leaving anytime soon from that standpoint. So I had to be open, why my career took me to Fresno State and Arizona, UNLV. Never thought I would live in Las Vegas and fall in love with Las Vegas. But also took me back to the Midwest. When I graduated from college, I said, all right, I'm done with the Midwest. I'm never coming back. And I had 2 stints in the Midwest, so those are the type of things that you have to be willing to do is don't get discouraged when one door closes. Stay purposeful in your approach and knowing that another door will open for you, because it is a very competitive space. A lot of people love sports. It's the perfect, it's the perfect, to me, sports is the perfect space that brings people together. And so everyone loves it and everyone wants to be a part of it in some form or fashion. So if you're truly passionate about it, stay true to it, be pleasantly aggressive, be persistent, understand the different jobs so you can be purposeful in your approach. And I think you'll find success that way.
Right. Well, sports, I remember in junior high, I played basketball, and one of the players on the other school was very good, and I didn't like him at all. I was very unfriendly to him because he was so good, actually. And then our 2 junior highs merged into the same high school. So now we became teammates, and he became a much nicer guy.
Of course.
maybe it was me, my attitude.
Well, that's everybody's the enemy when they're not wearing the same colors as you.
Right? Jay, you spent most of your career in sports at the university level. I'd love for you to speak into that for our students and the opportunities that are out there beyond sports organizations, often found in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. How did that become a lane for you? And how can that become a lane for some of our students that are coming through SBC?
Being a former student athlete and again, first gen, being able to, receive a scholarship, and I mentioned earlier, is what were the women and men in suits doing, right? And a lot of those folks, they were building relationships and they were fundraisers, they were revenue generators. And I learned that they made that pathway possible for me. So I took the skills that I acquired through my career and I wanted to be that voice. So for me, it was more about how can I, if you will, throw the rope over and bring as many people over as I can. And that was through the ability of fundraising and for scholarships and things of that nature, and understanding those different approaches from that standpoint and giving those opportunities based on the skill sets that I was able to acquire through my job experience. And I wanted to continue to create those opportunities for young people that way. I think now, as you look at how sports is evolving, there's plenty of opportunities for those that say, you know what, the pros are cool, but I want to do the college part of it. There's a difference, and you're doing a lot of the same work. If you're, you're doing marketing, you're doing sponsorship sales, you are working with a lot more teams, so you get a lot of experience that way. Because now, for most NCAA institutions, they have 16 to 17 sports, right? And so you're getting exposed to not just football or basketball or baseball. You're getting exposed to all types of sports, and you're also getting exposed to the different to diversity in sports, which is unique from college, which is different than the pro aspect of it, right? So I think there's great opportunity for our next generation of sports professionals and leaders if they decided to take the college route and probably transition to the pros, because there's a lot that you can offer and learn. And in my opinion, in higher ed, it'll probably make you a little bit more diverse in how you look at different situations, whether that's in leadership and how you deal with the people that you serve and the people that serve you from that standpoint, if you're in a leadership role. So, and the rest of your teammates, but it also teaches you how different athletes think. As they think, because you're seeing people are young future stars in their respective sports. You're seeing them come in as 18 and 19-year-olds. They're just very young and impressionable, and you have the opportunity to hopefully help them set their course and with their trajectory and their careers, and not only as a student but also as an athlete. So I would strongly suggest that they take a look at it. It can be really rewarding from that standpoint.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jay, before I give you my two final questions, you have to explain what nerd jock means.
That was something that someone told me. And it's like, you know what? Because we were talking about different things. Typically there's been an era where they see someone who can run fast, lift strong, and it's like, oh, that's a jock, right? But what comes along with that term is typically there's not any academic accolades, right? So my time through high school, they didn't see me in classes a lot, a lot of my classmates, because either I was in an AP class or, some, different level class, whatever the case may be. And it wasn't something I talked about. It was like, okay, I did my schoolwork. I get to do what I want. I can go outside, or I can, keep playing video games because my dad's not worried about if my grades are high, from that standpoint. And so, but since I did the work, I made A's on things, so that boosted my GPA quite a bit in those courses. And by the time I was a junior, I was taking majority of my classes were college courses. And so once some of my classmates, especially in high school, realized that, it was like, so he's a nerd jock. So that's kind of how that came up. So that's really how that happened. It wasn't something I boasted about. They saw the football stuff and the sports stuff, but they didn't see the academic side of what I was doing. So actually I took pride in that. I was like, I like that, and that goes along with my love for Star Wars and Marvel movies and everything else. So that just worked out.
Academics was part of the package. We grew up knowing, or I guess not knowing, that no was an option with our parents. It wasn't with my dad.
It
was just like, no, you're going to do it. No, it's not.
Not an option at all. It was, I remember one time I was, it doesn't matter. The discipline is what's needed, right? As far as when you're a parent and things of that nature. And we had this driveway, and every now and then, because of the dirt, growing up in the South, it was, I had to shovel the dirt, off the driveway and things of that nature. And I want to say 2 days before a game, I decided we had a rule: you couldn't leave campus, but what they had in the lunchroom, I didn't want to eat, and I needed energy to go to practice. At least that was my rationale. And so I left to go get some food, and I came back, and our dean was outside waiting for me when I got back. And I explained to him I was back for class. I didn't miss anything, but the rule is you can't leave campus. And so I showed up. I even showed the food and the receipt. He goes, I get it. I understand it. But if I let you off, that looks bad for everyone else. And so I was suspended for a day. And so my dad goes, I get it. You had to eat. I feed you. I know how you eat. You needed to eat before you became hangry, if you will. He goes, but since you're home, and I had a game that night, he goes, since you're home, how about you go outside and shovel that dirt and you chop this wood. So I was chopping wood and shoveling dirt that day. So I missed out the chopping wood piece. Yeah. And my coach said, your dad made you chop wood today? You had a game tonight? I was like, I was suspended, man. So it was either that or I didn't show up to the game. But that's kind of how that worked out. So, but it just teaches you about responsibility and goes back to my core values of accountability, right? So I had to be accountable for my actions. I made a choice. I knew what the rules were. So for every action, there's a reaction. So.
Yeah, I've run an at-risk youth program with the sheriff's department here in our area for quite a few years. And one of the things we would teach them is you can choose your actions. You just don't get to pick your consequences.
No, you can't.
So keep that in mind when you make a decision.
Absolutely.
Jay, 2 final questions. Yes. Who is your favorite athlete of all time, and who is the most influential thought leader for you personally?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I think from my favorite athlete of all time would probably be Bo Jackson. I just thought he was just an incredible athlete from that standpoint. Yeah. But I have several athletes that I've always liked. Bo Jackson happens to be one as a running back. I love Charlie Ward, of course, who is from my parents' hometown and where I was born at in Thomasville, Georgia. So it just kind of goes back and forth from those two for me. As it relates to influential people, I would say my parents have always been the most influential people for me. They've learned to keep me balanced and been my number one supporters throughout my entire life. And we talk about thought leaders and things of that nature, but to me, it just goes back to home, right? Doesn't matter. And the impact that we see that we've made with each other. We talk about, me working in higher ed and the impact that has been a first-gen college student. The thing that I always like to tell people is I have an older sister who's 2 years older than me, a younger brother who's 8 years younger than me. And so since I graduated, they both graduated. And the thing that is really important after that is my mom has also graduated. And so, I've seen the impact of higher ed, not only forward, but also backwards, as it relates to people and how that can change a whole family dynamic. And so for me, it goes back to family when it relates to thought leaders and people who are influential for me.
Yeah, nice. When you mentioned Bo Jackson, he welcomed Brian Bosworth into the NFL in a pretty significant fashion.
Yes, he did. Yes.
I think it almost ended his career early.
Very, very early, because he came in as the man, supposedly.
He had a great college career, but that next level was something else. And I can see the hit that Bo Jackson gave on him even now.
Yeah, it's actually playing in my mind as we speak right now as well. So,
Jay, as we wrap this up for today, as your final thoughts for our SBC community, could you again tell us what it means for you to have heart, and give us your heart definitions one more time?
Absolutely. I like to lead and be on a team, and I do it with heart, right? As I put my passion behind it. I want to make sure people understand that whether I report to you or you report to me, if a mentor-mentee relationship, first, I care. And I care about not only your success, but but those around you that you impact. I understand what that means. Right. That goes back to those family values. But heart just a combination of all the things that I've been through and what motivates me. So hardworking is H. E is excellence with integrity. As we talked about, is anyone can have excellence, but can you do it with integrity? It's really important to me. Accountability, being accountable for not only your bad actions, and you can't control your consequences, but also the things you do well. It's okay to pat yourself on the back. Be accountable for it. Next is respect for people. Very easy to do. Yeah. And T is teamwork. And being able to understand that you need to be in a team to get things done. You can be in you can finally make that VP or president of an organization, or you could be that senior staffer in higher ed, whatever it is, or the director of athletics. You need your team to make it work. Yeah. And that's what sports teaches us is you can't win a championship without a team. You have to pass the ball to somebody. Somebody has to play defense. Someone has to play offense. So to me, sports is definitely the perfect metaphor for life. You can't go through life alone. You need people to support you. You need people to motivate you. You need people to assist you. Right. And so I just really feel passionate about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Please let our audience know how they can stay in touch with you or contact you if you're open to that.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of Sports Business Classroom family and staff, it's been a pleasure and an honor, my friend, to have this time with you today. And just thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you in Vegas come this summer league.
Absolutely.
And
we look forward to seeing you as well. And thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. And thank you for the great questions and some of the research and some of the trips down memory lane. Some things you remember, but you don't think about it as much. And so I really appreciate that. But I'm very open to anyone reaching out. The best way is to just send me a quick email to j.vickers@unlv.edu. Again, that's j.vickers@unlv.edu. Very simple. Would love to speak with you. So if you reach out, I definitely will contact you back, and hopefully we can spend some time together. But again, thank you for this opportunity. It's always great to have the opportunity to speak with someone like yourself, and especially to support the Sports Business Classroom.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sports Business Classroom Audio Experience with Jay Vickers. Highly successful executive, community influencer, accomplished former athlete, and not only a real fun guy to talk with, but an individual that authentically and sincerely cares about others and making a difference. 3 of my lessons that I took away from today with this interview was number 1, HEART. His acronym HEART is absolutely a game changer. Number 2, I took away from his respect and honor that he lived out for his parents and those of his mentors and wanting to become a mentor. And then finally, his work ethic, not being afraid to really put in the work, to be prepared, to look for opportunity, and not be afraid to step into the game. Well, that'll do it for this week. I have been personally blessed beyond measure to have been allowed to participate in this SBC Alumni Takeover series over these past few weeks. I'd like to give a huge thank you from my heart to, first of all, Sergio Millis for giving me the green light on this project, for Samantha Macias, aka Sammy, who has been my producer and truly a pleasure to collaborate with, Bing Banta, who is more than just a video production assistant, but a master of technology, Mr. Max Miller with his knowledge and experience to make Sports Business Audio Experience a top-notch podcast, the whole graphics team, and of course, Mr. Albert Hall, for sharing with me his friends to interview to be able to add value to the Sports Business Classroom community. I'm truly forever grateful to the whole team. Stay blessed, and don't forget to check out sportsbusinessclassroom.com. See you all next time.